No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget football trivia every Sunday night at 6. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
Sitting here with Mark Kent of Southern Fidelity Mortgage Group of Huntsville. Mark, do you help pre-qualify people?
We pre-qualify people all the time, Wes. As a matter of fact, I love having them coming in here because when they come in and they pre-qualify, they can leave my office knowing exactly how much they can buy and have no worries.
Mark, tell me about your rates and pricing.
Well, Wes, this is something we're really, really proud of. Long story short is, I love being able to provide the best pricing in town. Honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I lost a deal to either rate or pricing, something I'm very proud of.
So what all financing options do you have, Mark?
We do several different things. If you're purchasing a home, we can handle the purchase. If you're wanting to refinance your home, of course, rates are at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. We do a lot of refinancing. If you're building a home, we can handle the entire process from breaking ground to the final close.
Do you sleep with your phone?
Wes, if you want to reach me, you can call me at my office phone, which is 256-562-1000. But always remember, I sleep with my cell phone at night. That number is 256-656-5936.
Coming up next, it's the Tom Abraham Show with me, Tom Abraham. Now back to more Talking Ball with Scott and Drew.
Let's get right out to the phone lines. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Wolverine Dan with us on a Tuesday morning. Good morning, sir. All right. Let's go back out to the neighborhood. Let's go back out to the phone lines. Bob the Georgia Dog with us this morning.
What's up, Bob?
Hey, good morning, fellas. How
Morning.
y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
Hey, so Scott, this morning you were rattling off all those coaches and how they won natties in their first, second year.
Yeah.
I may have missed it, but I didn't hear you mention my boy Kirby Smart going to the natty in his second season and winning it in this season.
Yeah.
You got to show a little respect to my man Kirby there, Scott.
No, there we go. I figured I was going to leave someone out. But, yes, Kirby Smart did it.
That's right.
And it all kind of goes to my point that those coaches come in, fresh in, within 2 years they have their teams in a national championship game or winning a national championship. And has that created, like, unrealistic expectations when other coaches step into jobs?
Yeah. Well, we hadn't won nothing for 40 years, so he can stay forever, even if he never wins again, just because we're so happy with finally where we're at. But the other thing I was going to mention was I think Drew didn't like it last week when I said it, but I claimed that Ole Miss were fraud.
No, I picked LSU.
And LSU, they brought it this weekend. Now, Ole Miss has a good running game, and I think Kiffin's a good coach, but I just had that feeling that in Baton Rouge, what's his name? Their head coach, Brian Kelly. Yeah, he's a weird dude, but he he's got them going in the right direction right now, and maybe it's because of the talent that he has there. I don't know, but I knew that they were going to win it. And then last thing I'll leave y'all with is we got Florida this weekend. I think we're going to smack them pretty good. They're talking about moving the game out of Jacksonville next year, which I'm all for, because we lose a recruiting weekend by doing it down in Jacksonville. It's fun going down there, world's largest cocktail party, all that kind of stuff, but I'd rather have it as a home and home. I think that would be kind of cool. And then we got Big Boys Tennessee coming in, and I'm not going to run my mouth about that one. I think it's going to be a good game. They got a high-powered offense. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a really good game. Whoever wins that is going to face Bama in Atlanta, either Bama or LSU maybe. But yeah. So, anyways, in Dirt Neck, I know Drew is loving it this weekend. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for you.
Thanks,
y'all
Bob.
have a good one.
Yeah, and I believe, though, it was announced back in, I think, July or something, that they can now bring recruits to this game. They can give them tickets now to this game in Jacksonville. That was one of the –
both sides,
yeah. That was one of the things that both coaches were like, wait a minute, we do lose a weekend of recruiting when we play this game in Jacksonville, and they are allowed now to bring recruits to that game in Jacksonville.
Well, we're going to talk to Mark McLeod in a few minutes. We'll ask him about moving it out of Jacksonville. I'll believe that when I see it, but
you don't think that'll ever happen?
They do allow both sides now to bring recruits to the game, which I think is fine. They probably should have allowed that anyway.
It's only been played twice outside of Jacksonville since 1933.
Right.
All right. Let's stay out on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Be Rich with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, fellas.
Morning.
Hey, so, you think about the time that Nick has been in Tuscaloosa, and, it's well documented, all the assistants and the Saban tree and that kind of stuff. And I think you've just got kind of a case of, what makes Nick great over the years is his ability to adapt and his credibility with these kids, coaches, and players. Everybody's well documented, Lane Kiffin changing the offense and him, doing that. But, the defense has evolved also. You used to see them, you remember Terrence Cody and Rolando and Dante, and then, he started switching over to these spread defenses and getting players. But Nick has always been at the forefront of, the evolution, because I think at his core, he's genuinely a humble guy that, he may have been a little sluggish on some things here and there, but he knows to stay at the top, you have to do these kind of things. Well, the coaches that are kind of flourishing, Kirby and, under the tree, that have done, Napier, these guys, I think when they were in Tuscaloosa, they actually put in the work, stayed humble, and learned from him. You got guys like Jimbo with his 56 papers on offense, and they're all probably brittle to the touch because they're from 1989 and things like that. And so I think Jimbo's probably a really good recruiter in the living room and probably tells the parents all the right things, and that, it doesn't help that he's got gym bags he drops off and all that kind of stuff. He gets these guys on campus, and then you've got kids like Denver Harris that are Tokyo drifting through the parking decks, and now, surprise, surprise, he's suspended for another incident. I mean, you just got a bunch of turds on that team, and for lack of a better, explanation, it all trickles down from the top. If you have a fraud for a head coach, and he can't really run the asylum, these kids are going to do whatever they want. Now they've got plenty of money to do it with. So it's just hard to have a lot of credibility. And Nick gets beat up a lot, but he genuinely cares about his players, and they wouldn't play for him if they didn't. And look how the kids at A&M are acting under Jimbo's watch. So,
well, here's my biggest point, B. Rich, and I've made this. I know it's not been an easy season for Alabama, and they haven't blown everybody out. It hasn't been a 2020 type deal. But when you look at the way they've played, when you look at the Texas game, when you look at the way they responded against Arkansas, when you look at the way they responded against Tennessee, and they played through Mo, Larry, Curley, and Shemp and still had a chance to win the game, they're fighting. They're a bunch of fighters. I don't think they get enough credit for that, because if they didn't, I mean, look, man, you've been an Alabama fan a long time. I've been around and following Alabama football, so has a lot of people. I know what it looks like when a team quits, okay, and when they don't believe in their coach, and you don't have the kind of direction, or when you're soft like they were under Mike Shula when they quit, like they did under Mike DuBose. When you don't have a head coach that people believe in, then you see, 48 to 10 beat downs against Arkansas, like back in 1998. You see when Houston Nutt drilled Alabama. You see, what happened with where Mike Shula couldn't beat Auburn, and those are some good Auburn teams. I don't think they were great teams. At least besides 04 was a great team. But again, I just think that when you look at it, Alabama's fighting. It hasn't always been pretty, but I just think they believe in their coach, and you can tell that. It's kind of like Sam Pittman too. I mean, Arkansas's lost some games already, but they certainly haven't lost them not playing hard. And quite frankly, the games where, Dirt Neck has won earlier this year, he won because he had better players. He didn't win because he was out coaching somebody. And
agreed.
And so, it's kind of like Philip Fulmer. I always felt like that with Philip Fulmer when he was at Tennessee. If he had better players than you, he would win. If the talent was close or the other squad had the better team, then he was going to lose. And I'll just be honest with you. These Vol fans better thank the Lord that Chris Winkie was hurt, or they never would have beaten Florida State.
That's a great comparison between the two of them, Fulmer, Shimba.
Yeah, they're almost the exact. They're almost the exact same. It's just, and both of them won a national championship. And just because you win one championship doesn't mean you're a Hall of Fame coach. I know Fulmer will probably end up in some Hall of Fames, but I don't think you can compare him to Johnny Majors.
I agree. Hey, I appreciate it. I'll let somebody else get in.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, Philip Fulmer. I'm looking there. Let me see what he did. 152 and 52 as a head coach. 96 and 34 in the SEC.
Yep.
He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 win or more seasons as a head coach.
I think he won 2 SEC titles.
First in the East, first in the East, first in the East.
Just overall.
Tied for first in the East, tied for first.
He won them back-to-back. He won them 97 and 98, and I think that's the only time he won them.
Right, and he went to the SEC championship game in 2001.
Lost.
2004.
And 7, I think. I think 7 was the last time he went.
Yeah, 2004 was the Auburn year. That was the year them and Auburn played twice. Auburn went up there to Knoxville, and then they met again in the title game.
Yep.
And then 2007 they tied for first.
Yeah.
2003 they tied for first in the West or in the East.
Yeah.
So 152 and 52 was Philip Fulmer's record at Tennessee. And you put him on the same category as Jimbo Fisher.
Pretty much. I mean, like I say, he's going to get some Hall of Fame votes, but I don't think he's nearly as good as Johnny Majors. And I think, basically the SEC office at that time was being run by Roy Kramer and athletic director Doug Dickey. He got a lot of advantages in his favor. And, I mean, he wasn't a terrible coach. I mean, he was a good coach, but I don't think he was elite. I think Johnny was. I think, if he hadn't stabbed Johnny Majors in the back, he never would have got the head coaching job.
Right. 5 years. 22 and 15, Jimbo Fisher, after 5 years in the SEC. And if you take Philip Fulmer's 5-year mark, math is not my strongest. 12, 32, 43.
Because Fulmer, he wasn't even the best coach of his era. The best coach was Steve Spurrier, who basically owned him.
Well, Mike Leach right now is the one that has Jimbo Fisher's number.
Yep. Leach is a good coach. He's coached at a lot of places where it's not easy to win. I mean, when you think about Texas Tech, when you think about Washington State, and you think about Mississippi State, those aren't programs that are year in and year out in the top 15 in the country, in the top 10. It's difficult. And so, he's going to get some big wins. It's going to be tough against some teams. He has a tough time matching up with Alabama, but he totally when he's a superior coach in every way to Jimbo, and that's why he's handled him so easily. If Texas A&M wanted to spend their money a little wiser, they probably could have spent a lot less and hired Mike Leach. Didn't have to break the bank and pay the guy $9 million a year and guarantee a $90-something million contract to somebody that can't beat Appalachian.
Well, that's the thing. Texas A&M right now is a school that joined the $100 million contract phase, or the craze, and gave Jimbo Fisher a lot of money. There's going to be other schools that will do it, and they're going to regret giving that much money that fast to a head coach.
Well, look at Michigan State right now. Look how much money they gave Mel Tucker. They gave him $9.5 million for winning 5 games in a row last year, basically. And
yes.
We're afraid somebody was going to come hire him, and now they couldn't beat, half the Big Ten. And half the Big Ten's just, ugh.
Yeah, there's going to be other teams that'll happen to. And it's going to come back.
I mean, your boys owe Kirk Ferentz a lot of money.
Oh, geez. Let's not. We just – they owe him so much money. He gets $6 million for every year remaining on his contract.
Yeah.
And it's like 8 years, 9 years, or something like that. He can make all the mistakes he wants. He's just going to get paid and paid and paid. All right, we got to pay some bills. We got to pay our good old friends on the advertising side. So let's get a break in. When we come back, wrap up hour 1.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We appear to be rolling along in pretty good shape this morning. I'm not seeing anything major snag-wise. You be careful on that trip in. Put some extra room in there so you got somewhere to go if something does go wrong around you. D&L Refrigeration repairs heating and air conditioning units for homes and businesses. D&L 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Southeastern Conference Commissioner Greg Sankey is coming to the Huntsville Museum of Art on Thursday, November 10th. He will sit with Abraham Madcore, the executive editor of Sports Business Journal, for an interview about issues in college football, such as conference realignment, playoff expansion, and name, image, and likeness. This event is part of the museum's Voices of Our Times series, dedicated to bringing in experts in the arts, entertainment, politics, and sports. For more information, visit hsvmuseum.org.
After a long, hot summer, there's nothing quite like the cool, crisp mornings of fall in Huntsville, Alabama. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's time to get out there. Whether it's hunting, camping, boating, biking, or kayaking, we've got the F-150 to take you there. It's truck month at Woody Anderson Ford, and we've got 2022 F-150s in stock on the lot, ready for your driveway today. And with your good credit, get financing as low as 2.9% for up to 60 months. This offer ends 10/31. Being the best-selling truck in America for 44 years in a row is no small feat. But I promise you, if you come drive an F-150, you'll understand. Woody Anderson Ford has nearly 100 F-150s to choose from and lots of colors and option packages. One of these is right for you. Truck month at Woody Anderson Ford. Exceptional deals on all our trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. And a great selection of Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles. Woody Anderson Ford, corner of Jordan and Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Have you been to an Iron Bowl? Even if you have, you haven't experienced the ultimate Iron Bowl tailgate experience, and it could be yours. How? Head to Baumhauer's Victory Grill every week to sign up to win. We'll also draw weekly winners that will win a lunch bunch from Baumhauer's Victory Grill. So what should you do? Go to Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Sign up for the ultimate Iron Bowl tailgate experience. Listen to The Drive each Thursday, and Wes and Steve will draw a weekly winner. The ultimate Iron Bowl tailgate experience, presented by Baumhauer's Victory Grill.
The best in local sports talk from the 256. We are local.
When you're number one, you don't have to worry.
We are award-winning. Thank you for listening. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You'll be set for life.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Hi, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the phone lines. You want to get in on the show this morning, feel free to do so. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to talk to Mark McLeod. We're going to look at that #1 Georgia-Florida matchup in Jacksonville. Florida under Billy Napier, 4-3 right now, 1-3 in league play. Obviously, Georgia still unblemished, 7-0. And 4-0. Georgia comes in 22.5-point favorites in this one. Your over-under is at 56.
Yeah, I mean, they're significant and down. They haven't played well lately, especially in that game against LSU at home. Defensively, as they're really struggling. And so it's going to be interesting to see, if they can play Georgia tough. I don't think they got really a chance to win the game unless Georgia's super sloppy, which I don't expect them to be coming off a bye. Georgia knows they got to hit the gas pedal. They know they got to play well. They got big games coming up. They've got this game, which is a huge rivalry, arguably their biggest regular season rivalry, because I don't consider Georgia Tech a rivalry because they dominate Georgia Tech.
What about Florida State, Florida?
And then I'm just talking about for
the
Georgia
side. Okay.
Yeah, for Georgia. And so, and then they've got Tennessee, and everyone knows what's at stake there. So they've got to clean some things up. They've got to play well, and certainly I expect them to against Florida. It'll be interesting to see how Anthony Richardson plays. He's been up and down. When he plays well, we've seen Florida push Tennessee to the final play. He's going to have to play at that high a level against Georgia, but I just remember last year he got the start against the Gators against the Dogs, and he was not ready. And Georgia crushed them in Jacksonville, and so it's going to be interesting to see how much progress that Billy Napier's team's making. Now, I will say I think they are recruiting very well. I think they're this Thursday going to get a commitment from the #1 corner in the country in Cormani McLean from Lakeland, Florida. So I think Billy's getting talent. But I just don't think he's got the roster right now to beat Georgia, and that's what it comes down to. I think there's too many deficiencies on both sides of the ball, and especially defensively, this Florida team has not been very good.
All right, so in case you're wondering, the contract for this game to be played in Jacksonville expires after next season, the 2023. 2023. Yep. Georgia comes into this game 9-6 all time against Florida, coming off a bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Florida, by the way, comes in 18-10 all time against Georgia, coming in off a bye week. Just so you know, both teams have their bye weeks usually before this game. So, but you got to. I imagine though those were that 18-10 mark. I imagine that was a lot of Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer wins for Florida coming off bye weeks against Georgia. Those 18 wins.
Well, I mean, in that era, Florida controlled the rivalry,
right?
That was a game Richt had some trouble in, but Kirby has started to take control in it, and so Dan Mullen got a win, but he couldn't sustain it. He couldn't recruit at a high enough level, and that's what you have to do. You have to have buy-in. You have to have the ability to recruit and get players, to play together and have a strong locker room and a strong culture, and that's what Kirby's building.
Did Anthony Richardson start this game last year?
Yes,
for Georgia, and it was a disaster.
He started and he played very poorly.
Yeah,
and we'll see how much progress he's made because that was when Dan Mullen finally started him because Emory Jones had been struggling, and so he put the young man in, and I think Emory was a little banged up too, and Anthony Richardson had even been injured, but he just wasn't ready for it, and that's what's going to be fascinating to see how he plays in this game because he's shown stretches of good play. He just hasn't been consistent, and I just think up front in this game is where games are won and lost. They're won and lost in the trenches, and I think that Georgia is significantly better on both lines of scrimmage right now than Florida.
Georgia comes in averaging 47 points a game, giving up just 9. Florida comes in scoring 31 a game. Their defense has been giving up 28 points a game. Florida has rushed for 230. They averaged 213 on the ground. They passed for 217. Defensively, Florida gives up 429 yards a game defensively. Georgia averages just giving up 247 yards a game. That is fourth best in all the country. So Florida's defense right now giving up yards at an astronomically high rate.
Yeah, and then they lost to a much less gifted offensive team in Kentucky. Now, Kentucky has some weapons, but they're not nearly as dynamic as the Georgia offense is. And, of course, some people have said that Georgia's not as supremely dynamic outside, but they're dynamic enough at receiver. They've got Brock Bowers. I'd like to see if Georgia's going to repeat.
Right.
The biggest key for them is going to be their running game improving, and they could have a chance to get well against Florida because Florida's had a lot of trouble stopping the run lately, and that's another reason why LSU beat them in the swamp and scored 45 points.
All right, we got to get that hour break in. When we come back, Mark McLeod will help us break down the world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville. It's Georgia and Florida. We'll preview it. Coming up next.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Alabama A&M University football. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com and view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see ya in a Kia. Go Bulldogs!
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We appear to be rolling along in pretty good shape this morning. I'm not seeing anything major snag-wise. You be careful on that trip in. Put some extra room in there so you got somewhere to go if something does go wrong around you. D&L Refrigeration repairs heating and air conditioning units for homes and businesses. D&L 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Showers and thunderstorms are going to be possible through the heart of Tuesday afternoon, early into Tuesday evening. Some of those thunderstorms could pack a bit of a punch. Looks like gusty winds going to be our primary concern across all of North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Before the showers and thunderstorms get to the area, temperatures should still be able to climb into the mid-70s. Line of thunderstorms is associated with a cold front that's going to drop our temperatures as we head into the middle part of the work week. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
College football, Alabama on a bye week ahead of a top 20 matchup with LSU in Baton Rouge on November 5th. Auburn hosting Arkansas this weekend. The Tigers a 4-point home underdog. Week 8 in the NFL, the Saints 2-point underdogs at home against the Raiders Sunday. The Falcons, meanwhile, hosting the Panthers. Atlanta a 5-point home favorite. The World Series underway Friday in Houston. Game 1 between the Phillies and Astros. Odds for Game 1 currently have Houston at -170 on the money line. Philadelphia +143, 6.5 the over-under. No official announcement about starting pitchers as of Monday. Red Hot winning picks at experts.winnersandwiners.com. Save 75% on any best bet package with the promo code ACTION75. That's ACTION75 at experts.winnersandwiners.com.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we are back for hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We've been talking a little Georgia and Florida to wrap up hour number 1. They have met 100 times since 1904. Georgia, by the way, will head into the matchup Saturday in Jacksonville, holding a 54-44 and 2 edge. Easy for me to say there. Does mean, though, that this is the second year that Georgia heads in as the number 1 team in this matchup, and Florida, for the second straight year, going to have an tall task to knock off the Bulldogs in what they don't want us to call the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because Billy Napier, I still think he's recruiting at a very high level, and that's the most important thing. He's got to get better players in there. He inherited a roster that was flawed. I think the kids have played hard for him. It's not been an easy deal, an easy situation, and they haven't been fundamentally sound defensively at times, and we're going to talk about that with our next guest. He does a great job with his daily radio program. And, of course, you can follow him on Twitter at McLeod Live. His daily program is The Blitz with Mark McLeod on WFOY in St. Augustine. Also, he has daily podcasts, The Gator Blitz and The Gridiron Growl. I've been honored to be a part of all of those. And he's going to join us now and talk some Gators and Dogs on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Mark, welcome back to Huntsville and the show. You were Drew and Scott. How are you?
Hey, doing well, guys. Good to be on with you.
Yeah, and you and I have texted back and forth. We've talked about this. Is that really been the biggest issue with Billy? We know that Anthony Richardson's been up and down, but defensively they've got to get better.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's everything. And Billy Napier talked about that with us yesterday during his press conference. The coaching, there have been issues with coaching, with getting the right personnel on the field in ideal situations, and certainly a lot of issues with players completing the assignment. I mean, there's either a breakdown at the line of scrimmage, at the linebacker group, or on the back end, and the defense has just looked absolutely miserable. And you never thought, Drew, that you would say 3rd and Grantham, it would be worse. Could
Right.
be possibly worse, but my friend, it is.
Yeah, it has been at times.
Speaking of improvement, we've seen Anthony Richardson at times look good this season. Then we've seen him look inconsistent. Last year in this game, we saw him inconsistent, not one of his best performances. How have you seen him kind of go forward as a starting quarterback? Because it's different to be a starting quarterback than it is to be the guy that everybody wants to see come off the bench.
Scott, my take on Anthony is this. I think he's a bit of an emotional quarterback. And by that, I mean, I go back to maybe the Kentucky game, a couple other games earlier in the season when Florida really needed him to step up, and he kind of felt the pressure of it on his shoulders, and you would see him aiming the ball. And he even said that in the postgame. He goes, yeah, there were times I was not putting the ball where it needed to be, and I was aiming the ball, trying to get it where it needed to be. Also, you've seen the same situation with him. Go back a couple weeks ago, and we saw it again. You go in that Tennessee game. There were certain situations where he looked like he was just playing very well to a high level of confidence, and then you get to the Missouri game, and there was a point in that game where things just were not going well. He wasn't throwing the ball well at all, and the next thing you know, you're kind of looking at him going, he's not playing with any confidence. I mean, even the short and intermediate throws are not on target.
Yeah, he has been streaky, no question about it. The running game has been pretty solid, no doubt. And but again, I think we kind of knew going in this roster was going to be flawed. We thought it would be a little more consistent, though. And it was really a disappointing performance, I thought, in the Swamp against LSU.
It really was. It really was. And I said the Missouri game a minute ago. I meant the LSU game.
Right.
Really not going well for Richardson. But you're right. It has been so up and down for Florida. And just as you pointed out, Drew, Florida has holes. They have holes in that roster, and you accurately portrayed it. It goes back to recruiting. And honestly, guys, Billy Napier told us after the spring, guys, we've got a lot of grass to mow. And he said, and we've got to hit the transfer portal. Well, I don't think he was able to reel in as many guys as they wanted to. My understanding, they really wanted 1 or 2 defensive tackles. They wanted a little more help on the defensive side of the ball, and potentially really wanted an additional left tackle in case something happened to Richard Garage. So there were some issues on that Florida roster, and particularly defensive tackle guys. You're seeing a lot of issues with Florida. Teams are running effectively against the Gators, and the Gators aren't getting to the quarterback. And even with Princely Umanmiel at defensive end, who they have a lot of confidence in, they certainly did going into the year.
Yeah, I love that dude.
You're not getting the push outside of Jervon Dexter. You're really not getting the push consistently on the inside or guys that are being able to stop the run game.
Is that just the talent deficiency, or is that the scheme that the players are still trying to adjust to?
I think it's both, Scott. I really do. I think I don't know if it's a situation where things are too complicated for the guys, but they just don't seem to be picking it up, obviously, like they have. And we've seen so many busted plays defensively by Florida that even times when you slow it down and you freeze when you're watching the game over again and you freeze it, say everybody's in position. What breaks down, and then lo and behold, you play it and somebody goes out of position, or is out of position, or doesn't make the tackle. Missed tackles have been a huge issue for the Gators as well. So there are just so many problems across the board.
But I will say, I think they still are keeping their eyes on the prize in recruiting. I think they're going to add a big piece come on Thursday. I think Billy understands that, and I think Scott Strickland, his AD, does as well. I think that they know that again, this is going to take a year or two, probably more like 2, to get the roster where he needs to get it. And I said this. I said I thought the ceiling for this team this year was probably 8-4, probably still is. But how big a mismatch is it, though? Can they play Georgia competitively? Because it wasn't competitive a year ago, and we've seen them take Tennessee to the wire. I mean, but the issue, though, is, and I think that's the reason that Georgia's going to beat Tennessee, Georgia's a lot better defensively than the Vols.
Yeah. The look on Anthony Richardson's face yesterday when Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel told him it was a 22-point spread. He leaned forward and looked, 22 points? I mean, he said that was the first time he'd heard that. He couldn't believe it.
Oh, wow.
But that's the reality of it, Florida's got a lot of work to do. They've had the bye week to try to iron some things out. Napier said it's a work in progress. They feel like they're making progress in some areas. They've still got a lot of areas they've got to work on. But, you're right, Drew. I mean, it comes down to roster. It comes down to the Jimmies and the Joes, and Florida simply doesn't have it right now. And that falls back on Dan Mullen and a little bit on Billy Napier for not being able to get his stuff done in the portal. But look, Billy Napier is no Jimbo Fisher. He's doing a nice job recruiting, balancing it out. He's not promising the moon to guys, and they're certainly not passing out NIL money like candy at Halloween. But it's a good situation for Florida right now. They pick up a big offensive lineman out of Jacksonville last night who flipped from Florida State to Florida, a guy they really coveted and have wanted. And as you guys know, you've watched Florida. Florida desperately needs to bring in some quality offensive linemen.
Now, with them playing in Jacksonville this week, is Billy Napier able to do that? Is he able to take advantage of this game, the magnitude of it, the pomp, the circumstance, and bring some recruits to this game?
I mean, I don't know how it all plays out with the tickets. I know they had agreed that the home team would be able to bring some recruits.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
That's a plus. But so for the future, that'll help Kirby Smart out because he wants the game out. He wants the home field advantage every other year and be able to pack Athens with recruits for the Florida-Georgia game. But I think that for Florida this year, if you're 22-point underdogs, if you just go in and really show some improvement and play well in certain areas, certainly it would make guys like us and the Gator Nation, I think, feel a little bit better at least, even if they don't win it. But to play overall better and to look more like a team.
Well, I still think it's going to be interesting, even though 3 of their last 4 after the cocktail party are on the road. They're all winnable games, though, because Texas A&M is a train wreck. We talked about that this morning. I mean, they got guys suspended everywhere. And then you get South Carolina in the swamp, and I'm not disrespecting Shane Beamer. He's done a really good job with his team, but that's still a game that you would think Florida would have a chance to win at home. Then you're talking about at Vanderbilt and at Florida State, who's been up and down. So I think the ending of this season is going to be telling for Billy. It would be huge if you could get to 8 at that point.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And then you have if you get that bowl game and then get those extra practices in where you can really help and kind of kickstart spring practice by getting a lot of young guys work in those bowl practices, and that could help Florida. And plus again, it could also help in recruiting depending on where they're going because his staff is doing a fabulous job recruiting.
Well, and is Richardson going to be the future at this position? Or I know we heard about Jack Miller. I know he was hurt. Could Florida explore the portal? Do you think, from talking to people around the program, do they believe in Richardson and how he's developing?
Yes, they do. They absolutely do. They like his attitude. They like everything about him, his approach.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I just go back to he needs to play with more confidence and don't get down. I mean, you got to be a pitcher in Major League Baseball. Forget about that last pitch, man. Put it behind you and just play with confidence. And that's something that he hasn't consistently done this year.
Well, and two, though, that comes with more starts, though, as well, right? I mean, we
exactly.
When we look at it and we look at his body of work, this is his first true starting year. I mean, yes, he came in last year, but this is his first full-time starting job in the SEC, and that's no easy task. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks have to grow up in that 1 year.
You're absolutely right, Scott. I mean, his first start at the Georgia game last year, that was his only start. So,
yeah.
And Billy really cautioned people before the season began. Napier kept saying, guys, you guys got to remember, Anthony hasn't started many games.
No.
He's good. We're confident in him, but he's going to need a little bit of time to adjust and do some things. So, and let's not forget, Florida's not playing with elite wide receivers.
No.
There's no Percy Harvin out there. There are no All SEC guys out there. Let's put it that way. And that's very unusual to say at the University of Florida, where you don't have a receiver. Justin Shorter may get a few votes for maybe the third team All SEC, but I don't think he would even make the All SEC team. But they're not devoid of talent there, but there's a lot of work to be done because they are not elite at all.
And I was thinking about this. Was the cocktail party his first start last year?
Yeah, that's what he just said.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I knew he started, but I didn't know. I couldn't remember quite. I thought it was the first, and I just, I was thinking, and I just remember how he struggled. But yeah, it was the first because he played sporadically, but finally Dan Mullen gave him that shot. And I thought so. I thought that it was his first. Well, again, Mark, in the last few minutes with Mark McLeod, and again, he has his daily radio program each and every afternoon, and it's on WFOY, and it's The Blitz with Mark McLeod. How big is this game for the rest of the season, though? Do they need to be competitive in it for the Gator Nation to stay confident in Billy Napier? I know they're about to get some big-time recruiting news later this week. You already mentioned that they flipped a young man from Florida State. What are the expectations going into this game?
Yeah, I think the expectations are just that. The Gator Nation really needs to see a competitive Florida football team, and a team that is playing, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, better football. Just look like they're coming together, because you're starting to get a few guys saying, "Is this staff really the one that can lead us to where we want to be in terms of competing for Eastern Division titles?" With the likes of Heupel and Tennessee coming up, and certainly Kirby and what he's doing at Georgia.
Well, it probably heightens the anxiety, though they did compete very well with Tennessee. There's no doubt about that, and I think we saw some progress there, no question about it. And we'll see what happens on Saturday. Because I know it's a big game for Florida. They'd like to play good football. They'd like to play better. But before we let you go, too, I'd be remiss. I don't think we've spoken with you since he had the big game and was named Player of the Week in the SEC against Missouri. But really proud of Jaden Hill and his comeback. Was able to watch him in high school here at Bob Jones, and I know he's been through a lot, kind of like Austin Troxell with the knee injuries. And again, the defensive performance has been uneven, but that young man has made some plays, and it's good to see him back on the field.
Yeah, you were the first guy to tell me about him, and going back to Dan Mullen's staff, they were really irritated that they couldn't get him healthy. Because they were very high and confident on him and his abilities, and you're hearing the same thing from Billy Napier's staff. They love Jaden Hill, and they just wanted to get him healthy and want to keep him healthy playing. So, yeah, tip of the hat to you, Drew, because what you said about the young man is exactly what these defensive coaches are saying, and look how it played out. I mean, when he finally got his shot on the field, he was lights out.
Yeah, he has been. He's been one of the bright moments. Well, I mean, and then last thing from you, Mark, what's going to be the key if Florida can get this game into the second half and keep it competitive? What have they got to do against Georgia?
I think offensively, Anthony Richardson has to run the football. You go in the Missouri game, he ran it one time, I think, in the first half.
Yeah.
And Florida did not play offensively very well. The second half, he ran it several times, and they were much more effective. He has to do that and not want us keep throwing the ball or stand back there and even, I dare say, take a sack, but run at the last minute where you pick up 1 yard or 2 yards. He's got to be able to do that. He's got to play with confidence, more confidence than he's been, and he certainly defensively they have to tackle, make tackles. Missed tackles have plagued this team, and they've got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback and make the sack.
Well, good stuff. Great stuff from Mark McLeod. Mark, let everybody know how to follow your daily radio program. We appreciate you joining us and giving us a preview of this cocktail party. And I guess also with this contract, Scott and I were talking about this coming up. This next year is the last year. Is it really going to move to the campuses, or are they going to be able to keep it in Jacksonville?
I think it's with Kirby is really out there saying he wants it on a home basis.
Right.
I think Florida would love to keep it in Jacksonville. But I think it's going to be harder than ever, Drew, to keep this game in Jacksonville. I think maybe one more contract, and then I think it's going to get really dicey.
Interesting. It's almost like the Iron Bowl years ago. This is very interesting, where it was in Birmingham for so long, and then Pat Dye finally pulled enough strings to get it on both campuses. But very interesting. Well, Mark, thank you. Let everybody know how to follow you, man.
Yeah, definitely. At Twitter, on McLeod Live, at McLeod Live, and then certainly we'll have a podcast coming up tomorrow, and looking forward to covering Florida, Georgia, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mark. Always appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, that is interesting right there, because Kirby Smart has been very, very vocal in wanting that game played on a home and away game. He wants that played on campus. It's interesting
Pat
to
Dye
see
was
if
very
it
vocal
ends up,
too, with the contract, and Auburn fought for it, and it's moved. I mean, so sometimes that happens. I mean, it may very well happen, especially if Georgia keeps controlling the series. And at the time that Pat Dye was talking and they got it moved, Auburn was in control of the series. If you remember, Scott, I mean, they won that game in '89, and that was in the middle of a run there where the Auburn won 4 in a row from '86 to '89, and so they were able to get it done. And now, remember, it didn't permanently move at that point to the campuses, because in 1990 it was back in Legion Field, and then you saw it in Legion Field again in '92. You saw it in '94. And then '98 was when it was the last one, and then it moved the Tuscaloosa in 2000. But again, it, like Mark said, it may very well happen, and it wouldn't be a horrible thing, because you get both games on campuses in the respective institutions at Georgia, in Athens, and in Gainesville at Florida. But it would just be different because it's as you said, it's been in Jacksonville for so long.
Yeah, and just think about it now, though. Now there's kids growing up that don't even remember the Iron Bowl even being played in Birmingham. So, I mean, the same thing with that series. Eventually, it will get moved away from Jacksonville, and people will always assume that it was just played like any other college football game on a home campus.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's what makes, I guess, the history so good with college football. All right, speaking of the Auburn Tigers, they are back at home on Saturday. They are a 4-point underdog to Arkansas. What do they have to do? How good has Robbie Ashford been? Tank Bigsby got things going against Ole Miss. Is that sustainable? We'll find out all that next.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We appear to be rolling along in pretty good shape this morning. I'm not seeing anything major snag-wise. You be careful on that trip in. Put some extra room in there so you got somewhere to go if something does go wrong around you. D&L Refrigeration repairs heating and air conditioning units for homes and businesses. D&L 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Southeastern Conference Commissioner Greg Sankey is coming to the Huntsville Museum of Art on Thursday, November 10th. He will sit with Abraham Madcore, the executive editor of Sports Business Journal, for an interview about issues in college football, such as conference realignment, playoff expansion, and name, image, and likeness. This event is part of the museum's Voices of Our Times series, dedicated to bringing in experts in the arts, entertainment, politics, and sports. For more information, visit hsvmuseum.org.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed precision overhead garage door service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Welcome back. Stan McDonald from the Stanton Law Firm. I had lunch with Lewis just recently and with a client of ours, a mutual client, and great to hear all the good things going on at the Stanton Law Firm.
Thank you, Wes. The Stanton Law Firm, as you know, we've discussed before, we're dirt lawyers. We do a lot of real estate, litigation and closing. And yes, my son Lewis McDonald enjoyed meeting you a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of your friends. He is, as you know, he's opened up a commercial closing division. So he's really helping a lot of people who are trying to close, buy, or sell on their commercial property. And you can't be in this community doing business without knowing Wes neighbors.
I don't know about that, but it sure was getting to meet another McDonald and talking a little bit about his grandfather, Coach Dye, and the different things. It was a lot of fun.
Well, your listeners are really going to enjoy meeting Lewis and you in this community. And like I said, at Jacob Title or the Stanton Law Firm, we close business. We close some good commercial closings, residential closings. We appreciate being part of your show.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-306-8158 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8158. That's 800-306-8158. What do you have to lose? Call 800-306-8158. Again, 800-306-8158.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
AVIQ. Who is AVIQ? AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing, helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourself subwoofer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit aviqhsv.com.
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to me coming up at noon today. Now, back to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And going to break, we were talking about what we saw, or I guess you could say Tank Bigsby. Can he string back-to-back performances together that were solid? He had a decent one against Ole Miss. Auburn had a few explosive plays in that game against Ole Miss. They found some success on the ground, although it did not translate into a win, showing some signs of improvement. Small, but showing maybe some signs, you think?
Well, I mean, I think the Auburn team showed some signs of improvement. I think they moved the ball. They passed the ball well earlier this year against LSU. They ran the ball well against Ole Miss. It's just been about finishing. They've got a chance in this second part of the schedule to get some wins. I do think it's a winnable game at home at Jordan-Hare at 11 a.m. against Arkansas. This is a good Arkansas team, but they faced a very difficult schedule. It's also going to be about how healthy this Auburn team is. They seem to be making progress along the offensive line. We're going to talk with our next guest about that. He's in his 23rd year of covering the Auburn Tigers, inside the Auburn Tigers, and Mark Murphy. I had a chance to see Mark at SEC Basketball Media Days last week. It was good to see him. They're part of Auburn Undercover, part of 24/7 Sports, and we always appreciate Jason Caldwell taking the time to join us here on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jason, how are you this morning?
I'm good, guys. How about y'all?
We're doing good, man. We appreciate the time. And, again, an interesting stretch for Auburn. They're coming off of their bye week. This was a game they won a year ago, probably, along with Ole Miss, their most complete performances as a football team in Fayetteville against Arkansas. This is an Arkansas team that's been a little up and down. They played a very difficult schedule. Going to be interesting to see how Auburn plays in this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very similar to the game we saw 2 weeks ago. Against Ole Miss, which team can get a couple of stops or create a few turnovers here or there. This is a really good Arkansas offense. This is an Auburn defense that has struggled and doesn't have a whole lot of depth. Now we'll see how they look after a bye week. It should help them get their legs back under them a little bit. But there's still an Arkansas team that'll tempo you, and K.J. Jefferson in the quarterback run game is a big deal. And so, but you look at the other side of the ball, and they're not very good on defense. Just like Ole Miss, those two defenses give up a lot of yards and a lot of points. So there's going to be opportunities for this Auburn offense to go out and execute and score points. But can you avoid the turnovers, and can you do some of those things that'll give you a chance to win instead of putting you behind the eight ball like they were in Oxford a couple of weeks ago? So that's the key. I think that you're right. I mean, I look in the next 4 games for me, they're all winnable games for this Auburn team. But they're also losable games for this Auburn team if you continue to turn the ball over and do some of the things they've done.
Yeah, and you go back to that Ole Miss game in Oxford. They were able to get that ground game going. A few big chunk plays kind of put those numbers to where where Brian Harsin, I guess, would like them to be, where we saw them, where we would expect them to be. But is that sustainable again this week?
Yeah, I think it is because, like I said, that Ole Miss defense is borderline terrible. They're okay. Arkansas is about the same borderline right now. They're just not very good. And so you're going to have some opportunities to move Jeremiah Wright in on the offensive line, get the run game going a little bit. And, yeah, I think you can. I think they're going to have every opportunity to move the football and do some things. Arkansas is one of the worst teams in the country against the pass, and they haven't really played anybody other than a couple of teams that line up and run the football, and those teams ran the football against them. So, yeah, I think there's going to be opportunities. And I think it's sustainable for Auburn when you look at Arkansas. Just because it's not a great defense that you're going to be facing on Saturday.
It's not, and that's interesting that the point that you made about Ole Miss when you saw Auburn play against them, and that's kind of what I expected, and I wasn't completely shocked that they lost in Red Stick. Now, I was surprised that they fell apart the way they did in the second half completely, but you watched a lot of those, and I even made the comment to some people, it almost seemed like Lane Kiffin channeled Gus Malzahn in the second half. They just couldn't move the football, and defensively, though, the Ole Miss just fell apart.
Yeah, no, I picked LSU to win the game, and I didn't. And to be quite honest, I don't think LSU's very good either. But after watching that Ole Miss defense in person, I said I can't pick that team to win on the road against anybody any good. And that's the thing. They got some offensive weapons, and they can run the football. It hurt them not having Zach Evans, not having the second running back.
Yeah,
that was a big deal. That was a big deal for them on Saturday. But they still wasn't stopping LSU, and so that's the thing right now. I think Ole Miss they're a team that's dangerous because of that offense. But that's a team that defensively is not anywhere close to good enough to be able to compete at the top of the league right now, in my opinion.
We've talked a lot about Robbie Ashford, and we still will here in just a little bit, and Tank Bigsby. But we got to recognize the fact that, and I don't know, I think he's done it quietly, but John Samuel Schenker is the career leader in receptions by a tight end at Auburn. And with Auburn going through everything that they're going through, it just kind of gets lost a little bit.
Yeah, Schenk's been good. He's been a good weapon for this team and doing the things he's done. Blocking, doing all the things that a tight end does. So, he's been a big part of things, and he hasn't had one of those monster games where you look up and his 8-10 catches, and maybe one of those is coming. But he's like you said, quietly, his 3 or 4 catches and 40, 50 yards, and maybe a little bit more here or there. And that's the thing for this team now. Whether it's Schenker or wide receivers, they've got to find a way to create some explosive plays in the passing game. They did those in a run game against Ole Miss, and Robbie Ashford has made a couple of plays in the passing game, but they've all been off kind of broken plays where it's kind of a scramble and him finding a guy. The next step for them is can they find some of those plays within the framework of the offense? And Schenker could be involved in doing some of that. We saw Tyler Fromm make a big play a few weeks ago, and so even Luke Deal against Ole Miss. So we've seen those guys make plays at that tight end position, but they've been too far and few between for this Auburn passing game to really give them that complete performance.
And then talk about the addition on the offensive line of Jeremiah Wright and what he meant.
Yeah, just a guy that watched since he was in high school at Selma. He, always offensive line was always his future home, in my opinion. But he played defensive tackle as a true freshman, then hurt his knee. The next year, redshirted, came back, and they moved him, back to offense in the spring, then back to defense in the summer. And now he's back on offense, and it's taken him a few weeks to kind of get his bearings again. But, with a couple of injuries, it opened up the door, and, he played well. He brings energy. He's physical. He's 6'5", 330, but he's athletic. I mean, he can move. And, he's an NFL-type offensive lineman. He just is so inexperienced that, it's going to be a growing process for him every week. But I think he's a guy that gives them something that they were missing on the offensive line.
No doubt about it, and sometimes that's what happens. Some some struggles open the door for a guy, and it seems to have opened some for him. And he was a big part of why that Auburn rushing attack was so good. I know Ole Miss is not great defensively, but still, we finally saw the productivity we know that Tank Bigsby is capable of, and that Auburn running game. It's going to have to be a big part of things on Saturday, because I think, as you've seen, there's some defenses in this league, and Arkansas is one of them that you can exploit.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. I don't think there's any question you can attack Arkansas. I think the next two, Texas A&M and Mississippi State, are better defensively, but they're nowhere near as good offensively. And so you start talking about kind of the mixed bag that you have the next couple of weeks. I don't think any of those three are a complete football team. And so you're going to have opportunities. next few times out in the league to go out and see if you can build a little momentum. I think it's there, but you're right. It's all about this Auburn team now, and they go out and execute on offense and avoid the turnovers. That's the biggest thing for them. That's been the biggest difference between last year and this year, especially the last year early on, when you're 6-2 and get started. The turnovers, they just turned the ball over way too much.
We've been talking a lot about the maturation of quarterbacks today and stuff, and Robbie Ashford is in that group simply because he's making every start that he makes is another start for him in a long journey. How have you seen him kind of progress as a starter over the last, I guess you could say, four games?
Yeah, it's just a guy that's just learning how to play. To be quite honest,
yeah.
Go back to Hooper High School and had some experience there, but hadn't played in a couple of years in college, and so this is his first opportunity to kind of get out there and get his feet wet. So every game you play, you hope you learn a little bit more about what you're doing and some of the things you do. And I think he's done some of those things at times. It's just again, it's protecting the football. He's not a guy that I don't. He might get there, but in this offensive framework, he's not going to be a guy that's going to go out and complete 75% of his passes. That's just not who he is right now. But he doesn't have to be. If you don't turn it over and create some of those explosive plays, then you can live with that and doing what he's doing. But he's a guy that has the ability. He has talent. Can he rein it in and become more consistent in doing what he's doing in day to day? That's kind of the goal, and we'll see if a bye week gave him a chance to kind of take a deep breath and kind of see, some of those things that he needs to work on.
Well, and then speaking of things that you happened to see on the road last week, you saw a couple of on Thursday and then on Friday, big-time high school football games with a lot of talent on the field. You saw Carvin Montgomery and Pike Road, and then you saw Andalusia and Montgomery Catholic. I know Jeremiah Cobbs obviously had a Mr. Football-type season. He just got offered by Georgia, but seems to be locked in with Auburn. And I know he wasn't 100% when you saw him on Friday, but showed off a definite, I guess, the rest of his toolbox, so to speak, as he was a big-time threat as a receiver, even though he didn't make as many plays running the football as usual.
Yeah, no, he's a really good player. And I said he's just a football player. You look at he almost had 200 yards receiving the other night and playing on an ankle that was probably 75-80%, something like that. But he's able to still make enough plays in the second half. They said, hey, we're going to lean on you in the running game because Caleb McCreary is the talented junior quarterback. He hurt his ankle, and so they basically were carrying Caleb McCreary on the field, basically, and then he was taking snaps and handing the ball off there at the end of the game. And so Jeremiah Cobb did a really good job of kind of putting the team on his shoulders there in the second half and kind of salting away that win against a really good Andalusia team with another really good running back on the other side in Jamarian Burnett.
Mm-hmm. And then I know Quayru saw James Smith. They're well documented as 5-star talents, and they certainly played well in that win over Pike Road, and it was a tight one, 22-19.
Yeah, just two guys that are kind of warrior mentality, and I think James Smith has probably shown that as much as anybody this year, in my opinion. I think he's improved the work ethic, the things he's doing on the field, how hard he's playing. All those things are showing up now for James Smith, and that's a big deal. So he's always had the talent. Now he's kind of backing it up and playing that way on Fridays. And, a really interesting team. They had to transfer quarterback in. They got it's on 34 touchdowns. Got a wide receiver with 22 touchdowns. The dangerous Carver team. As they get ready to head into the playoffs next week.
Yeah, they really do. And then basketball-wise, I know I saw Mark at the media days. I got a chance to talk to, Jalen Williams, who I still think is an underrated role guy, just a jack-of-all-trades senior for Auburn. But then they've got Wendell Green Jr. as well. Wendell wanting to transition to the starting point guard for this team. He was a microwave scorer off the bench a year ago, but he's still a very talented Auburn roster.
It is, and it's kind of adjusting in the makeup of this roster now. It's going to be a different roster than we've seen the last couple of years more inside guys with Janai Broome and Johan Traore, and obviously Jalen Williams, and Dylan Cardwell. I mean, this is a big Auburn roster now when you look at this team. And, getting a guy like Chance Westry back would be a big deal, for this team. I think he's probably the best shooter that they've got. So, just kind of how they develop and come together is going to be something to watch.
It certainly is. It really is going to be something to watch, no doubt about it. And I think that it's going to be a talented team. It's probably a team that'll be, and Bruce Pearl kind of mentioned this in Birmingham. At one time last year, Auburn was probably the best team in the country, but they weren't playing their best basketball in March. This team, should they gel, there's a chance that they may be playing their best basketball at the end.
Yeah, I think it's going to take them a little while to come together and do some of those things. But, yeah, I think it's a team that, defense, rebounding, just kind of tough, physical. I think it's going to be a team that's going to depend less on knocking down threes. And, the last couple of years, they made those shots. They could beat anybody. When they didn't fall, they really struggled. I don't know that this team's going to be as dependent on that three-point shot as some of those teams in the past.
Mm-hmm. Nah, we'll see. But, Jason, good stuff as always, good intel. What is your feel, though, for Auburn? What is their chance on Saturday in Jordan-Hare against Arkansas?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I picked a close game in Oxford, and without the turnovers, it's just right there. I think it's going to be another similar type game. I think it's going to be a 34-31, 34-30, something like that. I just don't see either one of these defenses doing a whole lot to slow down that other offense. So I think it's going to be, kind of a back and forth affair.
No question. Well, let everybody know how to connect with you guys, you and Mark, and the great job, Christian Clemente, outstanding recruiting reporter. You guys have a really good staff over there, Nathan King, and how they connect with Auburn 24/7.
Yeah, you can check us out, like I said, at Auburn 247, auburnundercover.com will get you there. AUTigers.com will get you there as well. So you can check us out there. And you can also follow me on Twitter at ITATJason.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, guys.
That's some good stuff there. Yeah, the Auburn Tigers, 4-point underdogs at home Saturday to Arkansas. Interesting there. Now you think about it. We'll break it all down and get your tomorrow's headlines today when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
One wreck, 431 northbound near Taylor Lane and Owens Crossroads. No report of injury, but it may be causing some problems for traffic. Everything else looking pretty good this morning. Just a lot of folks are going to be in last-minute dash mode trying to get in on time. Snelling has immediate need for a medical receptionist and an experienced RN. Snelling, how Huntsville's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget football trivia every Sunday night at 6. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet and Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet and Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list, and maybe a little scary. But it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know all the ins and outs of insurance claims and will guide you through the entire process. Log on FlemingHSV.com and book your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
Your home of the Alabama Crimson Tide is 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Touchdown, Alabama! Nolan pass inside, but he got to go to play.
Your home of the Alabama Crimson Tide is 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back. I know we are in the throng of football season, but college basketball news and notes, and I had to do a double take yesterday when I saw this because I didn't believe it was true. I thought it was a parody tweet or a parody news, or I thought it was false. But Jim Nantz is going to call his last NCAA championship. He's going to be done on the March Madness after 2023. And Ian Eagle will take over.
Ian Eagle,
yeah. Ian.
He's good.
Will take over as the lead commentator for March Madness. But I did not think, I was like, I had to do a double take and be like, whoa, Jim Nantz.
I'll just say this: Ian Eagle is underrated. He's really, really good. If you've listened to enough college basketball, I even listen to him. Get a chance to hear him sometimes on the NFL because he does NFL games. Jim Nantz still does the game of the week, so to speak, for CBS, but. Ian Eagle does a great job as well, and I really enjoy his basketball calls. So that's going to be interesting to see him taking over that seat. But I think he's capable of it. Certainly, we know Jim Nantz has been the voice of that for many, many years. But I think Ian Eagle can definitely take the reins.
I did not think that was true, and ultimately, it is true. All right, 256-576-4977. That is the number to the show if you want to get in on the program this morning, if you so would like to. I did see this yesterday as well. Several teams have inquired with the Denver Broncos, several teams, on Jerry Jeudy. So he may be on the trading block for the lowly Denver Broncos.
Trade him to Miami and just get it over with.
Disappointing season, to say the least.
Miami. Get him to Miami. Get him the hell out of Denver.
All right, some of the other games that will be headed your way on Saturday. You do get South Carolina hosting Missouri. I know.
Who? I know they just beat Dirt Neck, though.
I know.
Yeah.
And then Tennessee and Kentucky, and we'll talk more about that one later as the week goes along, I am sure.
Yeah.
And then Texas A&M and Ole Miss, and some of the conversation this morning, a lot of the conversation has been about the troubles brewing in College Station. Several players, during our show, it'd been coming out. Now, more and more things are coming out within the last 24 hours. Little bits and pieces keep coming out of College Station. And now there's guys that aren't just showing up to practice, that they are planning to put their names in the transfer portal. So things are going south quickly at Texas A&M. But I'm going to say this, though.
Wonder if he's going to call any impromptu press conferences to be defiant.
I will say this.
Brought to you by Ric Flair.
Is that also, though, just the new era of college football, though? Because guys are going to put themselves in the transfer portal anyway. I mean, we've seen guys do that. That is not something that is
it'll
shocking.
probably be a mass exodus by the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if ATM has at least 25.
But is he going to sit there and say, well, those are guys that didn't fit the system. These are guys that didn't buy
There's no telling what he's going to say.
Completely.
I mean, he doesn't ever tell the truth anyway, so there's no telling what it'll be. I mean, Scott, he said they weren't getting blown out of the stadium when they lost to South Carolina on the road after a bye week, and they came out and got down 17-0 against South Kakalaki. I mean, good Lord. I mean, they've got some home games coming up, but I mean, does anybody trust ATM? I mean, what's the spread, man?
On that one this weekend?
Lord.